Hello YouTube, it is Sad Boy Music, and today I want to make a more of a tutorial for you guys because I want my videos to be very educational and able to help you guys out and really expand your knowledge of certain things and all that. So, excuse me, what I'm going to get into today is building your recording template. So, I'm going to break it down from scratch because I need to update my template. So that's exactly why I'm doing this. Give me 1 second to find a folder to put it in. All right. Let's give it a second to load, and then we will go ahead and dive straight into it. All right, we got the session open. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my effect rack and I'm just going to engage it. This is my beat filter. This is one of the most important parts of producing for me. Dry. Ooh. Dry. Just take a quick look if there's anything I want to tweak. No, not really. Okay. And then I'm going to disengage it. My F6, I'm going to load up a preset. There we go. More. So what I'm doing here is I'm setting up an extremely super secret gas mixing technique. This is some secret sauce, and you all need to pay attention right here. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my vocal aux. This is just my lead vocals, not my backgrounds, just the lead vocals. And I'm sending it to a bus called vocal sidechain, and I'm sending it all the way. And that is feeding it literally. It's the bus is called, if I show my buses, literally bus 1 vocal sidechain. So I'm sending it to that bus, and I'm using that as a key input for the sidechain on my beat. And then literally I'm taking band 5, which is right at 2500, and I am bringing the range down -9 dB. It's kind of tight, or it's kind of wide. My bad. It's kind of wide. So just everything in that 25K or 2500 region, which is like the center of the vocals. And I don't know, I'll change this depending on the vocalist. You know, if it's a female vocalist, I might have to bring that up to 3000, 3500, you know, just depending on the vocals where they're living in the frequency spectrum. But that's just a good starting point. And I bring the threshold down to a good level, -23, just so that as soon as a vocal kicks in, it pushes the gain down 9 dB, and it's only in the mids. So it's just keeping the vocal right at the center of the track, right at the top of the beat, and this will help you with mixing when you're mixing vocals to a 2-track. So next we've got our recording and playback and recording aux. These 3 channels I want to go over. So my recording, it's set to the input on my interface, input 1. Whoa. I have some software in here, so this is all just like software stuff. These are the 2 inputs on my interface. And this one has no input because this playback track is literally only for comping and saving other takes and playlisting, which reminds me, I want to put this one on playlists. And so I keep these on playlist views so I can just quickly record, drag down, record, drag down, record, drag down. This gets me off. Oh, no, it's not. I'm tripping. Pre-roll. I started using pre-roll because I was doing a lot of session work in ADR and recording voice actors, and pre-roll just saves your ass there. So Command K engages and disengages it. So that's just a quick tip for you guys. And so these two tracks are feeding a recording aux. And what that aux has is auto-tune and Howard Benson vocals. This plugin is absolutely gas. Let me just this. Yeah, there we go. This plugin is absolutely gas for background vocals, sometimes lead vocals if you're doing a low effort project, like a real quick and dirty mix kind of thing, or just rough mixes. This plugin will get you where you need to go. The whole thing, vocals so it's got an input, compressor, grit, tube warmth, de-esser, built-in de-esser. That's absolutely gas. And you can just hold shift and you'll hear the you'll hold shift when you click on that and you will hear the sidechain, the de-essing signal. Then an EQ, I'm just putting this pre-comp, a multiplier, a widener, a delay, a reverb, a limiter, and an output, and the option to put the gain pre-effects. I don't know if it's the gain or the limiter. I have to double check that. Little nice cute little bypass right there. Next we go to these tracks, which are my lead vocals and my hook. And really what I want to do right now is actually put a micro shift on the second channel. I'll explain why in a second. I'm just gonna use my preset on there. Okay, so the way I leave the first insert blank on all of my vocal channels, because what I do is I take one auto-tune. When I first start, I load up the auto-tune on the lead vocals and I copy it to all the other ones, and then I put it on the recording aux as well. So I actually, just to save myself some processing power when I first open up the session, because when you open up session, you want as many plugins inactive and bypassed as possible, especially inactive. Inactive makes a huge difference. So next we will, so we can take a look. We have lead vocals. Let me go to the other screen so we can take a look at this a little bit better. So here we are. Recording, tracking, and comping, or whatever, recording playback, vocal aux, lead vocal. The other thing I wanted to do is just duplicate this. Just so I have two tracks on my ready. The reason I do this is because when you're recording, some artists will have overlaps in the sense that like they'll finish off a verse, but like it'll ride straight into the hook. So the hook comes in right on the bar, but the verse goes off like an extra like half a bar or something. So what you need is an overlapping track, because trying to crossfade that is a little bitch. And I do crossfades at the end. I do batch crossfading. I'll explain that in another video or something. But yeah, so I want two of the lead vocal tracks just so that I can literally just record and drag down, record and drag down, record and drag down. And I want it separate from the hook, because the hook is having that micro shift effect, and that's a mixing technique. I'm separating the lead vocals from the hook vocals, because I want the hook vocals to stand out a little bit more. So I'm putting the micro pitch shift on there. Micro shift by Sound Toys. So next we move on to all of our background vocals. These bad boys over here. So on just the vocal layer, I put micro shift and Howard Benson. That's it. On the in and outs, I put a vocal doubler, and it's the effect only. This is a huge thing, because a lot of people use a waves doubler. You can take away the center channel or whatever, the dry one. So what you do is you put effect only. I have my variation at 30 and my separation at 100. Then I'm going into a micro shift and Howard Benson vocals, And then this free plugin is really gas. It's called Wider. I would recommend you check it out. Probably won't do that much. Let me bring that back. There we go. Oh shit! I opened the plugins on the wrong screen. My bad. So, isotope vocal doubler. I'm using effect only, amount all the way, separation at 100, and variation at 30. Then I go into a microshift and a Howard Benson vocals, and I tweak the Howard Benson vocals each time. Like I have a background vocal preset that I use, and then I tweak the preset. You know, I play with how much delay, how much reverb, and all that stuff, and I play with the EQ and all that stuff. So I have that setup going on all of them, and yeah. So on my Adlibs, I'm running a Pan Man, which I need to tweak this actually. And I have, so really most of the time I'm only using lead vocals, hook, vocal layers, and ad-libs. That's literally what most of my sessions are. But I have the duplicate, I have the in and outs, sorry, I have duplicate for the overlaps, I have in and outs, and then I have these two here, left and right, box left, box right. I'm going to explain to you what those are for in just a second. So let me go over my overall structure. Lead vocals and hooks, you can see they're literally colored differently. And they're feeding a vocal aux where the background vocals are feeding a background vocal aux. That's very important. I'm processing my leads and my backgrounds differently, and then I'm feeding those into a vocal bus, which is doing bus processing. Very important. So my vocal layer is just for doubles, like doing a stack and just, you know, like little stuff like that, like stacks, doubles. My in and outs are usually, sometimes I'll swap out if I'm using Vox layer or in and outs, just because the in and outs has one extra plugin on it, right? Yeah, just one extra plugin, so it really depends on the track. But yeah, so then yeah, so my in and outs are for like kind of like say I'll organize it so that my Vox layer is just stacks, then in and outs would be punches, right? Then I have ad-libs, which are just straight up ad-libs, and those have the panner on them so that they're panning across the stereo field. And then we go to left and right. Left and right are saved for harmonies or background melodies / counter melodies / extra lines and stuff like that. Not every track has them. Not everyone needs them. They're few and far between in rap and hip hop and stuff like that. But every now and then you'll work with, like, say, a singer or, you know, a pop artist, and they know how to do harmonies, so they'll do harmonies or just octaves or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So what I have and what I will actually do is adjust this. So what I did there is I just put a little Ultra Boy on there just so I can have like the ability to do pitch shifting and creating harmonies on my own. So if I just, worst case scenario, take a double of the lead vocals and then pitch it up like a fifth and then pitch it down like, I don't know, like a fourth or something. And that way I have my own organic, semi-organic, what's it called? I'm dying here. Harmonies, my own like harmonies, but ideally I would do other takes. And sometimes the vocalist isn't talented, so they'll just do nothing against them. Sometimes they're just you're working with a beginning vocalist, and that's totally fine. Or they're just not experienced in doing harmonies and stuff like that, so they'll just run through the whole take again, and you'll record that, and maybe they'll do like a few notes different, or they'll embellish it a little differently, articulate certain words differently, stuff like that. You'll take that take and put it down there, and then you can pitch it up and then create your harmonies. The other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to make something. Oh my god, I hate this. I can't find it. Hold on, give me 1 second. Okay, I can't find the plugin. That's fine. That's totally fine. Whatever. I'm gonna edit all of that out. So set this bitch to default auto, and this is. And real quick, what I'm just gonna do is I'm gonna make. Sorry, like this is just how my brain works. All this. I'm gonna call this Vox. I'm gonna set the bus. I don't have to do actually. I don't have to do this one. Hold on. In that case, I'm just gonna do this. New track. I'll call it Vox. So save. Here. This Vox. Put it here. Put Ultra Boy. That there. And I'm gonna color blue. And I'm gonna set that to go to the effects bus. So, okay. So let me explain what I just did. So the Vox Effects track is something I've been doing lately, and you can see it on my live streams where I take the lead vocal and like just on the ways in, like just before the beginning of like the hook or the verse or whatever, I take like the first syllable or like the first word or two, and then I split that off. I put it onto its own stereo audio track and I run it through Audio Suite and I go crazy with it. I do some whack shit, and then I create like a little riser out of it, and I bring that in and I put that on its own track, and I just kind of I just leave it there, play put some fades on it and just kind of leave it in the background of the track. So let's go to my vocal aux. So real quick, let me hit save. So we're gonna go to vocal aux. This is what my lead vocals are doing. So let's go to first things first is the British channel. Is there anything I want to change? No. Okay. So I'm filtering off at 100 and I think 18, either 16 or 18K. I'm doing a little bit of compression and I'm doing a little bit of EQ before the compression. It goes filter sidechain, filter in, and it goes before the compressor. And if I use the gate, I put the EQ before it and I EQ the sidechain and all that shit. But yeah, I have it set to the B mode and of course engaged. I'm boosting a little bit at 200. I'm cutting a little bit at 500. I am boosting a little bit at 2.5, and I'm boosting a little bit at 7K. And I'm going into an EQ. I have to play with this actually. So. There we go. And then so on this EQ I am first threshold here, fast attack, hard compression, fast release, and a good ratio. So on my EQ I'm boosting 3 dB at 200, boosting 3 dB at 1K, boosting 3 dB at 3K, and boosting 4 dB at 7K, and I engage the preamp. Then I'm going into an 1176 compressor, input and output at 24, attack at 3, release at 7. I like the fact that you can turn off the attack. That's pretty cool, because if you go all buttons and no attack, you get some you can do some good parallel stuff with that. But anyway, I do 4, 3, 7, 24, and 24. Sometimes I'll do 30 and 18 depending on where my levels are at. If I really need to, I'll bring it up to 36 or 12, but I usually stick by the dots, keep it real simple. Then I've got my de-esser. It's doing, what is that, like 6K from 6K above, and it's a 12 dB per octave, 2 band, Yes, sir. You can do a 3 band if you really want, and some people can get away with it. I just don't because I boost so much high end to create a really nice, clear, present, airy top end that I'd just rather clamp it down with a de-esser so it creates a little bit of a dynamic to the vocal where it goes bright and dark, bright and dark, bright and dark. But the way I'm using the de-esser is very subtle, so it's not like jumping out at you. Remember, you want to like subtlety is a lot more important than you think when you're first starting out. Just keep that in mind. That's a pro tip. So I'm doing a lot of de-essing here and with a really slow release, but usually when I'm actually monitoring the track, it's not working that well. So it's a very gentle de-esser, and if you want, you can even get more aggressive with it and set it to the soft mode right there. So, oh, and one main thing to remember here, I'm going EQ into compressor, EQ into compressor. Just as a quick reminder for people who pay attention to stuff like that. And then on my background vocal aux, I gotta change this. This was from way back when. So on my background vocals, I'm doing compression into EQ. This is an EVQ, set it to mic. I filter off everything below 270, filter off everything above 3.9, like 4K, and I'm cutting at 330. I'm boosting at like 500, and I'm boosting at 1.5, and I'm cutting at 3.3. So that's it for what my background vocals do. That feeds into a vocal bus, which is just an LA2A and SSL bus compressor. And then I have all my effects. So I have vocal delay, background vocal delay, throw, verb, Vox, and saturation. And real quick, let's just take a look at the sends over here. So my lead vocals are going to the vocal delay. My lead vocals are going to the verb. They're going to the throw, which I don't know why they're bypassed. Oh, you know what? I know why they're bypassed. So, oh, you know what? They shouldn't be bypassed. Hold on. I just mentioned this whole thing. There we go. So, vocal delay, vocal verb, throw, saturation, side chain, and Vox. So let me go over what I'm doing here. I have my lead vocal delay, which has Valhalla frequency echo doing 1/8, an echo boy, which is doing 16th and quarter triplet, and just take a look at all these settings if you want. A little bit of saturation. And then I have this primal type. You know what? I never use it. I'm just going to take it off. Micro shift and wider. Then my background vocals are going to this. Oh, I got to actually change something here. But so it's going into Valhalla, frequency echo, into primal tap, into crystallizer. So what I'm actually going to do is put an effect rack here. And I'll come back to that in a second. So Valhalla frequency echo. This is also doing 1/8. So what I want to do is set this to 4/4. There we go. Just so I have it a little bit different. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to do it on the other screen. So here's my... What the hell is crystallize? Oh, crystallize is there, but what the hell is... Where's primal tap? Oh, there we go. Okay, I was tripping for a second there. That confused me. Primal tap. Okay. Oh, I'm zooming. Hold on. Okay, so I can take off this crystallizer and this primal tap. I can just put this effect rack here. And then one thing I want to go over is I'm using this side chain over here. This is just a stock Pro Tools compressor, and all I'm doing is just literally taking the key input from the vocal side chain, bringing the threshold down, fast attack, medium release, medium to slow release, ratio 6, knee 7, and it just clamps down on the background vocal delay when the lead vocals are there. Just because the background I have my lead vocal delay is very prominent and obvious delay, but my background vocal delay is a lot more ambient. So I let it ring out more and all that, because then I go in and I side chain it to the vocals, so it's still ambient and wide and all this stuff, but it's tight. It cuts off when the lead vocals come in. It's not that present. It's a great technique, side chaining your effects. Another cool thing to do is side chain your pads to your kick and snare. And now I will jump back to the other screen to continue this. So my throw has a few things on there. Oh, I'm doing it on the wrong screen again. Oh my god. So I'm doing CLA Epic. Oh my god. I'm doing CLA Epic. CLA Epic over here. I got a preset set up over here. That's going into Valhalla Frequency Echo at 16th notes. That's going into Tal Reverb 2. And if you don't have this reverb, I highly recommend copying it. It will level up your reverb game. It's 100% free, so anyone can get it. They have VST, AAX, AU, everything here covered. And these are just These are just some basic settings I have set up over here. My low I'm bringing down, my mids I'm bringing down, right at the vocals point, and my highs I'm bringing up. Stereo input, stereo width all the way up, good amount of room size, good amount of pre-delay, and dry wet is pretty much balanced out. And then that's going into a micro shift, and that's going into a wider. Then we have the vocal verb, which I need to play with this a little bit. Let's see if this will work. Let's see. Yes, it works. Oh, great. It's not working. Perfect. That's just what I wanted. Either way, I will experiment with that and come back to that. So for the meantime, I'm going to use this reverb, which is a plate going into a room. And then that's going into a frequency echo, which honestly I should put the frequency echo first, but I'm not going to. It's going into a micro shift and a wider, and then an EQ. Then I have the Vox, which is Little Ultra Boy and Vox, and I have the vocal saturation, which is Devil Lock Deluxe and Decapitator, and I just kind of play with that with the song depending on what I need it. I don't always use this. Some people love to always have parallel compression on their vocals. I like to do it stylistically because the way I treat my vocals, I always have them present, up front, centered in your mix. They are the forefront of the audio in the song, and the way I work, I don't need it unless I go for a stylistic effect where I want it more gritty and distorted and saturated and compressed and all this stuff, and sounding like it came out of like an amplifier or something like that. Then I will go for this. Last but not least is Sparkle. This is just something I do every once in a while. You know, once every like 100 tracks, I will need this. Like literally, it's literally like once every 100 tracks. Just for the hell of it, I'll make it active and show you what I'm doing. Which I might want to update this at some point because this is an old setup, but I'm doing a stomp pedal setup, so compressor, bass pitcher, regular pitcher, phaser, doubler, which honestly I would that, and then a delay. It's going into an amp, and that's going into a micro shift, which I should have this micro shift later on in the chain. Going into a frequency echo, which this one I will probably set to 30-second notes. Turn up the delay, bring up the mix. And then that's going into an ensemble. Then I'll put my micro shift. This is a gas plugin right here. Honestly, I'm going to replace this right now. Actually, I'm not going to replace it. I'm going to add on to it. I love. I'm going to add back to it. That crazy. Put it after the amp. And then that's going into wider. Set to 200. This bitch is maxed out. It's going into mid-side matrix. Oh, it loaded! Fuck yes! Down, mid, down, down, down. Slash this. Okay, slash this. 0% movement, just like I have this. Side. Just so I can use this plugin again, I can just use presets and bring it up, because sometimes Pro Tools is just shitty for graphics. They don't support 4K natively. They don't. Their GUIs are just. It's just. Pro Tools is a fucking mess of a doll. So that's done. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make that inactive again. Then I'm gonna go to my FX bus real quick. What I want to do, I want to do side chain. I'm gonna put that mid-side matrix on there. So I have just my bus compressor on there. Do a little bit of side chaining, and then a little bit of a side boost. Then we get to my mix bus. Which has a stereo imager. Ooh, wrong screen. What I do is I automate this from around like 25%, around 25-ish. What I will do is I will automate it across the track so that on the hooks, I add just a tiny bit more stereo imaging, and it just makes the hooks a little bit wider, makes them stand out a little bit more. This is part of macro dynamics and macro processing. There's micro processing and micro adjustments, and then there's macro processing, macro adjustments. And I want to talk about micro and macro dynamics in another video. I will definitely explain that to you if you don't fully understand it, or if you need help grasping some of the concepts and the reasonings as to why you would do them. I will definitely love to do a video on it. It's just I don't really have a track that's dynamic enough for me to like really be able to show what I'm doing there. I'll find something and I'll make a video. But yeah, and then I'm going into a T-Rack suite, which has bus compressor, master EQ, which I want to tweak right now. So let me break down what I'm doing with this EQ right now. So this is a mastering EQ. Make it a little bit bigger so it's easier to see. So bus compressor, slow attack, fast release, 4:1 ratio, side chain high pass at 250, makeup at default 2.2, grid at in, compression in, master EQ, So on the mid channel, well, first of all, on the output, I'm pulling it down to dB. This is part of my gain staging process. Just because I'm adding a lot with my master EQ, I want to pull the master down 2 dB to gain compensate. So low shelf at 100, boosting 1 dB, high shelf, boosting 1 dB. Right at 11 cycles with the tightest Q, I'm pulling out 6 dB. Right at the mids, like with that 2400 area, I'm doing with the widest Q, I'm boosting like 1.5 dB. And right at 19K, at the smoothest, at the widest Q, I am boosting like 1 dB. On the sides, I'm pulling 1 dB down. Actually, I could do 2 dB out of the sides, and I'm boosting 2 dB into the sides. Right at 85, at the widest Q, I'm pulling out 6 dB. Right at that same center 2400, 2800 frequency, I'm with the tightest Q, I'm pulling out about 2 dB. And with the stereo, on the side channel, all the way at the max frequency 25K, I'm doing a nice gentle 1.5 dB boost. Save this again. Made some changes. Then I'm going into an imager. My bass up to 150 is completely mono. My mids up to 1K, my low mids, that's right at center. And I could honestly pull this down just a hair. Go. And then my upper mids, so from 1K to 10K, I'm doing right at 150. And then from 10K and above, I'm just boosting that stereo image. I'm getting it wide as hell. Then I'm going into a Fairchild, and my time constants is at the fastest. My input gain is down 6 dB, and my threshold is at 3, and my output is at the default 2. Then I'm going into a clipper before my final limiter. If you don't, I do this already, I highly recommend it. Get a clipping plugin and use it before your final limiter. I also have a multi-band clipper that I use sometimes on kick and snare. What I'll do is I'll take the kick and snare and I'll send it to a parallel, like I'll send them to an aux and in parallel, and I will multi-band transient design and clip them and then blend them back in. So it's kind of like parallel compression, but it's a little bit more advanced. So for the clipper, I leave the output at -0.3 just so I don't have any like clips. My gain, I will usually push 2 dB into it, and I will, well, I'll leave it 0. Just because I like to have the choice and I don't want it to by default add gain. Oh, I literally don't have a preset for this. Okay. And I leave the slope in the middle, and then depending on the song, I will play with it, whether I want it to be soft clipping, hard clipping. And that is that. Actually, go ahead. Save that. And then we go into my final limiter, which is -3.5 threshold, out ceiling -0.3. My auto release, I want to bring that down. Quantize at 24. And then I don't do the dithering until I'm bouncing to MP3, and at that point I swap the quantize from 24 to 16 because I'm bouncing down to 16-bit MP3, and then I will do this for my dither. But by default I'm bouncing the wave, so I don't do that. And of course I have my true peak enabled, and real quick I just want to so that's going into my final limiter. And then of course I have these two plugins, which I will show you just now. This is Sample Grabber. You see this all the time because that is how I do this. Pull up my stereo imager. For some reason I have some high-end content. I don't know what's causing that. I think it's just some analog emulation or whatever doing that, but whatever. It is what it is. It's literally -108 dB. I have to literally, I boost my monitors all the way and I can barely hear it. Like, it's very, very, very negligible. So sample grabber, oops, and then master meter right here. You know, set to oversampling 8 times, all this stuff. US time, clear. You know, every time you need to clear it. You can export it. I don't know what that does, but yeah, offset 0, clip at negative at 0. I wonder if oh yeah, I got that's cool. Yeah, so can I play with oversampling? No. Okay. So I always look at oversampled clip events. I ignore regular signal clip events. I only care about the oversampled, and it's 8 times oversampling, so you should be good with it. And certain limiters, like I know the L1 isn't doing it because it starts clipping if you set it to 0.2, like the way I have it set up with that negative 3.5 threshold. If you put it to negative 0.2, it starts clipping, oversampled clipping. So their true peak algorithm isn't that good, but it's ways. What can you expect? So what I do in that case, I'm looking into getting this also, the Fab filter limiter. It has I think 16 and even 32 times oversampling, so you can go crazy with that when you're bouncing. The last thing here is these two. Wait, which screen are you on? Hold on, let me check this. No, you're on the wrong screen. I knew it. So the last thing here is Talkback and Click. So I have a click track set up by default. For the longest time I didn't use it, but you know what? You never know. So it's just better to have it and not need it. And the whole track is inactive. And Talkback, that's for if I want to have a Talkback setup, depending on which setup I'm at, you know, whether it's at a studio, my crib, wherever. What excuse me. Oh, excuse me. What I do is I'll have a Talkback, and that's set to the other input, and it's literally just set on input monitoring the whole time. Sometimes I'll record it because there's very few times, like one example is I think one of the Drunks by Panic at the Disco. We're just at the very end. You'll hear like the background studio noise or what's coming from the control room or what the engineer is saying to the artist or some shit like that. If you ever want those kind of things because they're cool, and I recommend I'm always on punch recording right over here. You can see punch recording. I'm always on punch recording. I'm always recording. And any little background noise or any little flub, like if it sounds funny as hell, I save those. I'll be like, hey, you know what? Like if their voice cracks or something, sometimes I'll save it. I'm like, hey, I'm saving that, and then like, you know, maybe like a day later, I'll just send it to them or some shit. You know, you can just like isolate the audio clip and then like option Alt Shift 3, consolidate it, and then rename the file, and then you just go into your audio files in Pro Tools and you're set. So anyway, that's how to build a good recording template inside of Pro Tools for tracking, mixing, and mastering. Well, not really mastering, you know, vocals over 2-track, that's not really mastering, but it is what it is. You know, Studio Bounce is what gets uploaded, so yeah. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment down below. I will definitely try to answer them. If you have any comments, concerns, anything like that, let me know. I definitely want to do a video on beat cuts, so I'll look forward to that. That'll be coming. And there we go. We have a recording template set up, ready to use. And that is all for today. That was a quick, oh my god, that was an hour-long video. I'll edit that down. But thank you all for watching. This is Sad Boy Music, and I will catch you all on the flippity flip.